It says we're live. It's not
Okay.
giving me any issues about Twitch, so I guess we're gonna be live from Twitch again for the first time this morning.
Come on.
Oh my gosh, uh, it is early in the morning, so welcome to all you early birds that are joining us for another episode of the Devil Made Me Do It podcast. I am your host Joe.
And I'm busy.
Uh, this morning we got a little bit of a dizzy doozy going on here.
Yeah, we do.
Oh man! So we're gonna dive into the controversial and horrifying story that came out of Canada. What was it, 2008? So it's been like 12 years, 12, 13 years almost, involving a mentally ill man named Vincent Lee and the horrifying things that he did to a young carnival worker named Tim McLean on a Greyhound bus during a schizophrenic episode. Ugh. This one's pretty gnarly. I think I saw this one. I just kind of stumbled across this one. I think maybe like 2 years ago. I was having like a little bit of insomnia and I couldn't sleep, and it just for some reason it just
Why does
popped
true
up.
crime always put me to sleep, though?
I don't know.
When
It
I'm
doesn't put me
having
to
my
sleep.
insomniac nights, that's what I'm doing. I'm strolling true crime stuff.
It just makes me go like, and then I start hearing like a bump somewhere, and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
What was
Oh
that?
my god, Richard
9
Ramirez came
times
back
out
from
of
the
10.
dead.
9 times out of 10 for me, it's one of the cats playing on the porch.
Oh shit. I'm just like, what is that? What is that? Oh my god, too many people die on the couch. I need to go to bed.
See, I'm already laying in the bed, so we're good. I'm usually browsing on my phone laying in bed.
Oh
with both fans going and our broken AC trying to cool.
Jesus, this summer's been pretty gnarly, dude. It's been pretty
Oh Lord.
gnarly all over the place. It's
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. They can't get appointments booked because everybody's ACs are going out. So
yeah, ours went out. Ours went out after yours went out, and yours went out a long time ago.
ours has been going in and out since June 9th. It only works good enough for about 6 to 8 hours when we're sleeping, and then it freezes up and makes god awful noises. So I have to flip the circuit breaker to get it to turn off in the mornings. So after the show, that's what I got to do. And then we go outside to feed pigs, and we see it all frosted over.
Oh,
Our morning routine.
jeez. Yeah, ours got to the point where it was kind of making funny noises. And then I started smelling like, not like burnt rubber, but it smelled like something was burning that wasn't normal. And I started freaking out like, oh my God, is my house going to catch on fire? And then I go and flip the switch off real quick. And I'm like, oh, now it's like 100 degrees in our house. I hate this shit.
Yesterday, Rob and I were chilling with the AC off all day in the house because that's what we've been doing lately, and just running it at night so we can at least go to sleep.
Yeah.
We stepped outside to have a cigarette on the front porch, and guess what? Oh, it was so much cooler outside than it was in my own home.
Oh, that's the worst. That is the worst when you're having AC problems, is when it's cooler outside than in your damn house.
Well, and it wouldn't be so bad if I could open up all my windows, but our screens are all torn to snot between the cats and the bugs, and I don't want bugs in the house, so I'm just like, there's only certain windows I can open, and I'm like, it's not enough.
Oh, shit.
But luckily yesterday it stormed too. We got a nice thunderstorm that rolled through yesterday, and it cooled things off just before the rain came. And it's weird as all get out. It was sunshine and it looked beautiful outside, and it was pouring.
I like that. I think that's actually
I
pretty
love
cool when
it
that
though.
happens.
I love it, and I love that all three of us love to sit outside and watch the storm and turn off the TV, and turn Pandora on our phones and just go sit outside together. And we're kind of goofballs like that, but that's what we do.
Gotta make the most of it, man, because this weather fucking sucks.
Hey.
Fucking sucks. For everybody, it fucking sucks. Oh, are you ready to get into this, girl?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep getting this.
No. It's cool. It's cool. Because I'm starting to get more frustrated about the heat right now. And mosquitoes, just thinking about it, I'm like, fuck.
Oh.
And then we all have problems with our AC in some way or another. It's like,
right. And we've got mosquitoes as big as most house cats out here in Georgia. And they love me.
Oh my gosh. We got the tiny ones. They're called the ankle biter ones.
Mm.
And when we had our extreme heat the past 2 weeks where it was like 115 and it was dry because we're in like Southern California-ish, we had no mosquitoes. And then now that it's like cooled back down to like 100 degrees and 90 degrees, they're all over the place again. I'm like, I don't know if I'd rather have the extreme heat or the mosquitoes, but I'm kind of wanting the extreme heat back right now.
Well, see, this was supposed to be the big year of the locust out here everywhere.
Oh yeah.
It was supposed to be the huge year, and yes, we hear them. Don't get me wrong, or not the locust.
The Cascadia or
Oh my gosh,
you know what I'm talking? Am I
I
saying
know
it
what
right?
they are. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Cincadias, right?
Cicadas. There we go. I don't
Cicadas,
know.
there,
I
yeah.
was like, it's there. I know it's there.
They're just as bad as fucking locusts.
Yeah, but it's so peaceful at night when the rain's coming in and you can hear them out there. But I thought they were going to be all over the place. Like I was going to step outside and have to watch where I'm stepping type deal. And haven't
Oh,
had that experience. So that's good. But that's what I was expecting with what I read about this year of the cicadas.
they're probably like, it's too fucking hot, dude. Let's try this shit again next year.
Yeah, redo.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe next week, guys. Let's go back.
Let's hibernate a little longer, please.
Oh, shit. Oh, this one's pretty gnarly, dude.
Mm-hmm.
This week's pretty gnarly. It's very shocking this week. This week's case.
Shocking.
Yeah.
A lot of it is very shocking.
Yeah, from beginning to end it is like even ongoing. But
Mm-hmm.
we'll kind of you guys will kind of follow along and understand what we mean if you guys are not familiar with the story already. I'm gonna jump back and kind of go into our main person of topic, Vincent Lee. There's not a whole lot known about his life. Like he did do interviews after the fact, and he didn't even really say too much about his life. But Vincent Lee was born April 30th, 1968, in Dandong, China.
Mm-hmm.
He has an older brother and a younger sister. And in 1992, he graduated from the Wuhan Institute of Technology with a bachelor's degree in computer engineering. Hopefully, we don't get dinged for saying that word or for that location because of the circumstances, but whatever. He migrated to Canada with his common law wife, Anna, in 2001 to Winnipeg, Canada. And he kind of like, even though he had like a bachelor's degree in like computer engineering and all that other stuff, he had a hard time finding a job in Canada. So he started picking up like odd jobs, kind of oddish jobs here and there. And not much is known about his early life, and not much is known about his life in Canada between 2001 and 2004. Until later in 2004. At some point, I couldn't find a date, but at some point in 2004, he was hospitalized for 4 days in a mental institution because police had found him kind of wandering around claiming that he was following the sun and that God told him to do it. Yeah. And then when he was there for the 4 days, they basically told him that he was schizophrenic.
Gotcha.
And I did find an interview. So this is a quote from him about that visit. He says, "I didn't know what it was. I know now what it is. I began to hear voices that normal people do not hear. I thought I heard the voice of God telling me to write down my journey. The voice told me that I was the third story of the Bible, that I was like the second coming of Jesus. I was to save people from space alien attack. That is why I traveled around the country. I'm not sure of all the places I went to. I now know that it was schizophrenia I was suffering from. I will say this kind of sounds a little like Lori Vallow and the Chad Daybell case we covered a little bit, because this stuff kind of sounds like her shit.
Very similar.
Yeah, because she's like, oh, I'm here to save the 144,000, from the second coming of Christ. But they said zombies, though, not aliens. They were like, oh, it's zombies. Everyone's turning into zombies.
But usually those two go hand in hand when it comes to seeing things.
Yeah, and hearing weird things or what they think they're hearing. But in the fall of 2004, so like after the whole hospital deal or whatever, He ended up working at Great Memorial Baptist Church as a night custodian, and he ended up quitting that job at the church after only like 6 months of working there, because he's from China, immigrated to Canada. English, he didn't know much English. Obviously English is not his first language. So there was a language barrier. So it ended up, and this is just from what I've read. So it ended up becoming difficult for him to work at some places because of that. So he quit. In 2006, he just up and left his wife in 2006, and then he moved to Edmonton, Canada, into like this really small 300 square foot apartment basement. That's how they described it. And then he ended up moving into like a bigger, like it says 16th floor apartment in a building nearby that place. And he just stayed there by himself for a while. What he did, I don't know. Just kind of picked up more odd jobs, but never said really much other than that. And in 2007, he finally gets his citizenship in Canada. And he was working at a distribution company delivering newspapers until April of the following year. And then he quits that job. Like, I think they said in like January 2008, he quits that job, and then he goes working at Walmart he worked as a janitor, and then he was a mechanic, and then he was a cashier. Gotcha. And he ended up getting fired from that job because he had like some kind of a disagreement with an employee. They didn't really say what it was, but obviously it was severe enough to have them let go.
Terminated.
Yeah. So he went back to the distribution center, and he went back in July and started delivering papers again. But it doesn't give like how long, but it was a very, very short time, because he went back in July, but then on the 28th of that month, he delivered papers and then like quit again and then got on a bus. So it was like, he just kind of jumps around a lot. I don't know if that's part of, the schizophrenia or it's still, or maybe the language barrier and the schizophrenia. I'm not sure.
Together, and yeah.
But that morning, July of 28th, he delivers papers, quits his job, and then he hops on a Greyhound bus for Winnipeg. And his common law wife, Anna, said that he had a habit of taking bus trips with no apparent destination. Like, he'd just get on a bus and travel around.
Go. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Kind of like at the beginning when I quoted that, he said, I just traveled everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where I went. I just traveled. Because he was hearing these voices from God, and the voices were telling him that he had to protect people from aliens. So he was getting on these buses and just traveling around looking for aliens. But he'd never found one, basically. So then on the next evening of the 29th, he gets off the bus in Erickson, and he has like 3 pieces of luggage and a laptop with him. And he they said, I was watching a lot of the news segments and stuff on it.
That's what I watched.
Yeah. But he got off the bus, and he kind of wandered around a little bit, and then went into this little store called M&M Grocery, and wandered around in there for a little bit, and then went back out to the bus stop and just sat there. And he I guess he stayed awake all night, but he was just sitting on that bench all night long. And the next day, he took his laptop and he put it up on the sidewalk with a sign on it that said $600 or best offer. Well, this 15-year-old boy just kind of walks up and he's like, "Hey, laptop, what's going on over here?" And he's like, "I want to get my YouTube on." And
right?
Yeah, and he kind of like he talks him down from 600 to like $60.
$60
to $60, right? I'm like, that's a hell of a deal. And this man took care of this laptop because he went to school for it and got a bachelor's degree. So this is a top-notch laptop.
Exactly.
And
but desperate times call for desperate measures,
right? And nobody knows why he was trying to sell this laptop off. He was just trying to sell it. The boy, when he was interviewed, he said that he had his luggage on either side of him, and he was like sitting on it like he was sitting on like a chair or like a throne or something like that. So it was kind of weird how he was set up like that. And then after he bought the laptop, Lee was trying to get him to buy some of the luggage, and the kid's like, no, like, I only had $60. I just wanted the laptop.
I just want the laptop.
I don't want you dirty
I don't want the
draws,
dirty
sir.
draws.
Yeah, I don't want
Exactly what I thought.
Yeah, and he's like, nah, I don't want that shit, man. Like, my mom's still barely doing my laundry. I'm good. So like around 6 that evening, he gets back on another Greyhound bus that is going to Winnipeg. And this bus already has like 36 people on it. There are children, there are older people, there are younger people. I mean, there's just a mix of people on this bus. And I guess he kind of picked a spot towards the front of the bus at first, and then he wasn't happy about it. So he went and found a spot like right in front of the bathroom that had there was a passenger, Tim McLean, who we'll talk about in a minute. He was in one seat, and then there was a vacant seat next to him. He went and sat next to Tim. And I'm just going to get into Tim a little bit real quick before we get into the nitty gritty of it. But Tim McLean was, actually, I think if he was still alive now, I think he'd be like a year younger than me. He was born in 85. I was born in 84. So he'd only be like 35 now. It's like, oh, that poor guy. So he was like maybe 22 when this happened. So he was
like 21 or 22, I think is what I read.
So so he was like super, super young. He had just come out of doing his first run working in a carnival. His sister had called him up one day because she works in the carnival. She called him up one day and she's like, hey, what are you doing this summer? And he's like, nothing. And she goes, well, pack your bags for a week and, come out and do this job with me, And she goes, I don't know how long we're going to be here. She goes, but at least have enough stuff.
Something.
For a week, A
week, yeah.
He started documenting his experience out there. Like you can find all kinds of videos on YouTube where they show him on the ferry loading cars and he's talking about where he's at and he's just having a good time. And everybody described him as very adventurous, very outgoing, very energetic, very friendly. So just, he's just a person you would naturally probably want to go hang with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I only saw it on one documentary. I didn't see it on any other one, but supposedly he was expected to be a father. Like there was a girl back at home that was pregnant. So, that's really sad. That's really, really sad. Like his life was just starting to open up to him. So around 9:00 that night, Tim fell asleep and he was sitting next to the window. He had his headphones on. He had his head against the window. They said that the Mask of Zorro was playing on those itty bitty little TVs. We've been on the Greyhound bus. We know how this shit works.
Yeah.
But the Mask the Zorro was playing, and then all of a sudden, there's like this scream, this blood curdling scream that happens. And I actually watched an interview with the guy who sat in front of Vince Lee.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this one it breaks my heart to watch the interviews with the passengers, especially the ones that were closer to the incident than the people in the front of the bus, because the people in the front of the bus really had no clue what was going on at first. They thought it was a fight in the back of the bus. But the guy who sat in front of Vince Lee said that the scream was like a mix between a dog howl and a baby cry. He said it was just horrible and just almost indescribable what this sounded like. And the guy was actually in the military for 5 years too. The guy that was sitting right in front of Vince Lee. And he was one of the guys who actually ended up like helping detain him on the bus. Yeah. So what had happened was, out of nowhere, Vince Lee just grabs a knife that he actually bought at a tire shop before he got on the bus. He ended up stabbing Tim in the neck and the chest about 60 times. And everybody started freaking out. Like I said, some people at the front of the bus thought it was a fight. The people that were closer saw what was happening. And people were screaming, he's got a knife, get off the bus. And it was described as almost a trampling type situation because people were like panicking trying to get off this bus. And as soon as everybody got off the bus, the guy who was sitting in front that was in the military, the bus driver, and another, I'm not sure if it was another passenger or who, they were trying
it was another passenger to get in there to make sure there was no other passengers left behind, or see if they could even
Yeah.
attempt to help the victim.
Yeah, to stop the attack basically.
Mm-hmm.
But Vincent, like, because he had this big knife, he started, like, you know, slashing at him and, like, basically ran them off the bus. And when they ran off the bus, the driver tried to push the button to shut the door to, like, lock him in, but he didn't hit the button fast enough, and he was able to get his arm out and slash at them.
Oh, wow.
But then he turns around and he goes back on the bus. Girl.
Mm.
Lee proceeded to decapitate this young man after he had stabbed him to death.
Mm-hmm.
And he started dismembering him and skinning him. And there's a trigger warning at the bottom running for this stuff. So if you guys aren't reading this, I'm sorry. Trigger warning, because this gets kind of graphic for some. But he started, like, pulling off pieces of his flesh and, like, eating it. And his intestines and other things like that. The guys who tried to help, I guess there was a truck driver that actually pulled over shortly after this happened, because he had seen everybody, like, running off the bus and hearing people screaming he has a knife. So this truck driver gets out to kind of, like, assist and help what's going on, and just like, what the hell's happening here? They got him to stay on the bus. The guy that was in the military, he had a hammer. The bus driver had another weapon. Another guy had a crowbar. I think it was the truck driver that had a crowbar. Yeah. And they were keeping him on the bus, like, don't come out here, we're gonna fuck you. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. They're like, we'll fuck you up if you come out here, even though they're terrified out of their gourd of this man. But he
have a right to be.
Yeah, exactly, because this guy is obviously clearly out of his gourd. Yes. But I guess Lee comes back to the front of the bus, and he has Tim's head in his hand. Mm-hmm. They said he had just no expression on his face. His eyes were dead, and he just drops his head and then turns around and walks back over to Tim's body. He tried to break through a window. And, well, I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. The police show up around 1:30 in the morning. So everything starts at 9 at night. Police don't get there till 1:30 because they're out. They're so far out from everything. It takes the cops that long to get there, basically. Which really sucks. But I mean, it's not like the cops are saying, we're having lunch right now. We can't make it there. Mm-hmm. It was just, they were so far out. It took the cops that long to get there. The police ended up, like, surrounding the bus, and they started having a standoff with him about 1:30 in the morning. He tried to break through a window, but he couldn't escape. Like, they kind of ran him back into the bus. And the police stated that they heard him saying that, I have to stay on this bus forever, kind of deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's still tripping out pretty hard. After a little while, the police finally get him off the bus. They tasered him twice and then cuffed him. When they went to go search stuff on the bus to, like, assess the crime scene, basically, they found a plastic bag containing parts of Tim's body. And when I don't know if they did this at the station or if they did this on location, but when they're, like, kind of searching him, they pulled out of Lee's pocket, Tim's ear, his nose, and his tongue. So, like, he was keeping that shit. For some reason or another, he was keeping that shit. They could never find his eyes or his heart. So they think that Lee ate his eyes. They think that he consumed his eyes and his heart. And then this is where it kind of gets into, I'm sure I'm probably missing a lot of gory details for this, but I mean, I think it's kind of okay, because cannibalism kind of turns my stomach a little bit. Just a little bit. And so this was in 2008. His trial was in 2009. And this is where it starts to really get messed up, especially for a lot of people, especially in Canada too, because Greyhound, like, they didn't try to make this a big story in Canada. They didn't try to they tried to, like, keep this as quiet as they possibly could. But in 2009, on Lee's trial, he was found criminally not responsible due to mental disorder. Yeah. The psychiatrist said that Lee performed the attack because he was hearing voices he believed were from God, telling him to destroy the demon sitting beside him, or he would be killed himself. And then Lee remained in I apologize if I say this wrong, the Shellkirk Mental Health Center, which is like, it's a big, oh man, I saw a video this morning. I was kind of really surprised by it. It looks like a big bricked mental hospital.
Yeah.
And it's got like a big green lawn in the front. And they were interviewing people that lived across the fucking street from it. Like, there are houses across the street from this. And there's a school not that far from it as well. And there's not a lot of confinement around this building.
No.
There's only like gating, like maybe where the parking lot is.
Uh-huh.
But there's like this big ass open yard. I mean, it's pretty big, but still, there's no fencing or gating around this shit. So if you walk out the front door, you're fucking free, motherfucker. You can just run.
Good.
You can run. But June 3rd of 2010, so only a year-ish of being at this facility, Lee was granted supervised outdoor walks within the mental health facility that the review board approved. They're like, oh yeah, you can start going for walks like out in the yard and stuff with somebody next to you. I don't think he was like shackled or confined in any way. He was just like, he could fucking run off if he wanted to run off. And Vince Lee is not a small man. I guess he's like around, at the time he was around 6 foot-ish, 200 pounds. So it's not like he's a small man. He's a fairly good sized man. So, I mean, what if you sent like a little woman out with him? Like, he could easily like
push her over and be gone.
Exactly. I mean, I know he was being treated for schizophrenia, and that's one of the reasons why they started lightening up on him, was they're saying, oh, his treatments it seems to be working, so we're starting to get more freedoms. And then so almost another year later, May 30th of 2011, it was reported that he was responding really well to a psychiatric treatment, and that his doctors had recommended that he receive more freedoms phased over the next several months. So it was like in increments, he was going to start getting more and more freedoms to do normal things like he would if he had never been locked up. And then another year goes by, like almost to the fucking day goes by. Lee had been granted temporary passes that would allow him out of the mental health center for visits to the fucking town, supervised by a nurse and a peace officer. In an interview, Lee spoke for the first time, saying that he began hearing the voice of God in 2004 and that he wanted to save people from alien attacks. And they let this fucking dude out. Yeah. So then, in February of 2014, that following March, Lee would be allowed to have unsupervised visits, starting at 30 minutes and expanding to full day trips by himself. Like, I mean, I know it's like, it was like 8 years later. They're like, oh yeah, just, just go off on your own. He'd be able to go to like the beach. He could go on the internet. He can go to the, Walmart. He can go get back on another fucking bus if he wanted to and just wander around, as long as he was back by the time his day pass was up. Like, he could do whatever the fuck he wanted, just like you and I. Like, whatever.
Exactly. That kind of scares me. That really scares me.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, even on their day pass, they took their meds before they left, but if they have an attack, they're nowhere near their meds.
Or what if they don't come back?
Or if they don't go back.
Don't come back.
Exactly. And then they don't go back. They're not on their meds. Next thing you know, you've got another crime or another victim to add to his list because he wasn't properly supervised, I guess you could say. Honestly, and I don't mean offense to anybody by any means, but to me, somebody like that it's known that they had done it, there shouldn't be that option of release at any time. I'm sorry. If you're that much of not being able to be I guess you can say, maintained. It's just scary to think that there could be people walking around right now that are just out on their day passes.
Yeah. And it's oh yeah, that is super, super scary. And that's what a lot of people in Canada were like freaking out about. Like they were pissed.
Mhm.
They were super pissed that that was happening. They're like, this isn't right. Because it's really, I mean, yes, with a severe mental illness like this, and you know, not everybody with schizophrenia does this.
Oh no.
It's very,
Yeah,
very exceptional situation that this happens, to this extent, really.
definitely.
Um, and he did know that he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, but that's kind of his bad for not checking into it and getting help for it,
Exactly.
because you knew about it. So he kind of neglected shit himself. So
Could it have been the language barrier?
maybe, I don't know. I
Like
don't
he
know.
didn't realize the severity of it, maybe? I'm
Maybe. I
not trying
mean,
to give him an out, but
no, I
just I
know.
remember you saying that he had that language barrier. I would hope that a hospital would at least get somebody that could at least give him some form of
Yeah,
information.
I wonder even too, now that you bring that up, I don't, I maybe not the language barrier, but I'm wondering how the healthcare system like actually treated him when he was in it. Um,
Exactly.
I wonder if they even gave him medication or anything, or gave him information on it. If they gave him information on it, then I can see the language barrier, because obviously
Yeah,
it'd be in English and not in Chinese.
exactly.
Because he could speak, but it was in simple sentences, basically. I mean, not that he was
Simple
dumb.
phrases. No, it's just the language barrier.
Yeah, it was
It was
just the
his
best that
second
he knew.
language.
Yeah, it was the best that he knew, but he could, you know,
Mhm.
articulate what he was trying to get out, just not in very complicated,
Complicated
you know,
ways.
conversation.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I wonder what they actually did for him, because obviously they're very lax in Canada about mental health.
Hmm.
Very, very
Very,
lax.
very lax.
Yeah. So in February 2015, um, it was reported that he was given unsupervised day passes to visit Winnipeg, so long as he carried a functioning cell phone with him to use. So now it's like,
You're
okay,
out
you
on
have,
your own.
yeah,
Just
you're
call
on
and
your
check in.
own. Exactly. Call in, check in, and let us know whose house you're at. You know, make sure you're home before the
Hmm.
street lights are on, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Um, and that's how it feels like when you're a kid.
Kids
Um,
of the 90s know all about it.
yeah. Although we didn't really have cell phones for a long ass time. But
No, street lights.
yeah, streetlights. In February 2017, the Manitoba Criminal Code Review Board ordered that Lee be discharged, like fully, like you're good, kid. He was granted an absolute discharge. There will be no legal obligations or restrictions pertaining to Lee's independent living, and he changed his name to William Baker. This was 2017, so this is about 5 years ago. He's still living in Winnipeg under that name, living a normal life. Um, like I said, there's no obligation, no legal obligations, and there's no restrictions. He doesn't have to check in with a mental health care provider or a facility or
A probation officer?
thank you,
Nothing.
yeah, nothing at all. He doesn't have. He's just absolutely
I'm
free to live his life.
sorry. Somebody should that has done that. And yes, granted, mental health, they can help with a lot of things. Don't think it should be, because there's just one day unmedicated and they're right back to ground zero and nobody
Mm-hmm.
knows.
Or like a lot of people, I'm not saying all, but a lot of
Yeah,
people who suffer from different types of severe mental health, you know, or mental illnesses, they'll get to a point where they're just like, I don't even know why I need to take this medication. I'm just fine. And then they stop taking
exactly.
it. And then you're like, I want to say, and if I'm wrong, forgive me, but I want to say I read that like you're 60% more likely to have a harder relapse once you stop taking medication.
Hmm.
So
Because your
you'll,
body's been so reliant on it for
mm-hmm.
so long, and it's gotten used to it, and then you take that away, it goes into shock almost, if you will.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then your body's trying to figure out how it can make up, because 9 times out of 10 when you take any type of medication, if your body does it naturally, it's going to slow down its production because you're being provided it already.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's just a vicious cycle of that.
Yeah. Well, Canada is the citizens of Canada were pissed about this. Poor Tim McLean's mother was just very devastated and upset that he gets to live his life and her son doesn't.
No.
I totally understand and sympathize with that. I do not
Mm-hmm.
agree with him being able to be allowed to be set free. I think that he is someone that needs to be severely monitored and needs to stay in a facility. And I know a lot of people, when I was watching a lot of these segments and like news and stuff like that, a lot of people were saying he needs to die. He needs to have the death penalty. I don't think he needs to have the death penalty necessarily. I just think he needs to be locked up. Somebody actually did an interview with it. I think it was the National Post of Canada or something like that. They actually got to sit down with him while he was, I don't want to say incarcerated because that's not really the word for it, but when he was staying in the facility. Yeah, when he was hospitalized, somebody, was able to go in and get like statements from him and interview him. And he does feel really, really bad about, like, it has traumatized him himself. He's like, I will never forget this. He goes, I'm so sorry. I know it's going to be hard. And I'm paraphrasing, but
no, of course.
He's, saying like, I hope that the family can forgive me, but I don't ever see how they could. Like, I know it'd be very hard. And he's very aware and very remorseful for what he did. He's like, I know that was the schizophrenia taking over and caused me to do this. He wasn't ever, he was never a person in his past to ever really cause a problem like that. This was a very like isolated incident for him. So it's not like this was something that was premeditated like Bundy or Gacy or anybody like that who just wanted to do it because they got their jingles and jangles from it, like he heard voices and he thought God was telling him to save the world, basically.
Exactly.
From aliens or Lori Vallau's zombies or something. I don't know, but he is very remorseful for what he did. And I hope that even though he's out and that he's free to live his life, I really hope that he continues with getting help.
Oh, yes.
So that there's not another incident. Like, I'm sure he is very aware that this could happen again. He's even said that if he hears voices again, that he is definitely going to call a doctor, whether or not he's on medication. That he said, if I hear voices again, I know I need to call somebody and get help because he doesn't want to get like that again.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that was part of the reason why they let him go. Maybe they saw that, hey, this guy, he's sick. He's not a psychopath kind of deal. True. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
But still, like nothing. Like, at least have him check in with his psychiatric doctor once a week or somebody once a month or, something. So they can still see a pattern if for some reason the medication isn't working just right, but he doesn't realize it yet. They could catch up on little, pick up on little things that he's doing to go, oh, wait a minute, hang on, we might need to revisit that.
Exactly.
That's the biggest concern, because if you catch it early enough, you can prevent something like this escalating to this extent, of course. But if there's nobody around to help catch those warning signs, because I guarantee he's probably not in a relationship at all.
Oh, no, especially if everybody knows what he changed his name to.
Exactly. And so he's living alone and just, it's sad and scary all at the same time.
It is. And so, like, I watched a lot of the interviews with the passengers on the bus, and I noticed that the people they interviewed, the closer they were to him, you can like see it in their eyes, especially the guy who was helping that like sat in front of me, like their eyes are just like terrified. Like you can tell when they're talking, they're in shock and they have like, they're still in that mode because these fucking reporters, like that kind of made me mad. These reporters went out like instantly and was like in their fucking faces. Like, dude, chill the fuck out.
They gotta talk to the cops first.
Yeah, they gotta talk to the cops, and they just went through this horrific experience that not everybody goes through. I mean, Jesus, like, give them a second to fucking breathe and collect themselves before you start shoving cameras in their faces and making it worse. Like, fuck. Oh, that was another thing too. Because a lot of these, passengers, a lot of them they got a lot of PTSD from this. They had a lot of nightmares. One of the officers, I forgot to write his name down, because I just barely caught it last night. 8 years after the event had happened, his PTSD was so severe that he committed suicide because he could not shake it.
Military, and it wasn't the stuff from the military that caused it. It was this incident.
Yeah, and he had seen so much stuff, and just this one incident just toppled all the dominoes over for this poor man. Yep. And so it just one incident can affect so many things.
Oh yeah, and so many people. It's scary.
Yeah. And it is. It's very scary. And it's very sad. It's very, very sad. It's sad for, this guy who is going through a very bad mental health break. It's super, super sad for the family, for the passengers, everybody. It's sad for everybody. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it for Vince Lee at all, but he absolutely could not help what he was doing.
Exactly. He couldn't control it.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, he's not like Bundy or Gacy or anybody who did this stuff because they enjoyed doing it and they wanted to do it. And it was very premeditated and it was an ongoing thing. This was just a very exceptional incident for this one guy. And had he maybe looked into it, or maybe if the mental health facility was, like I said, I don't know if they gave him any kind of medications or nothing because they had him there for 4 days. And they diagnosed him. They diagnosed him. They had him for 4
enough
days.
To see it in 4 days. And
yeah, like they didn't give him a prescription, or they didn't tell him go see a doctor. Like this could get really out of hand. Like nobody knows that part, so we can't really blame the system too much. Although the system is always guilty of this shit because it just sucks. Whether it's in the United States or Canada. But apparently Canada's a little more or anywhere. It just really sucks. But yeah, so guys, that's the story of the Greyhound cannibal, Vince Lee. Or William Baker as he's now known. Oh my gosh.
That's the part that freaks me out. That a lot of the foreign stories that I've read where there's been murders and there's no denying that these people did it, they get out after a certain amount of time, scot-free, new name, new life to get started, and some of them turn back to crime and never leave it. That's the depressing part too. And it's like, even, I get it if they're completely remorseful, and they've done their time, but I don't know how much time is enough time for taking a life.
That's true. But I mean, I don't know. It's really hard, but I honestly don't think that he should be free. Like he really needs to be in a facility. He really needs to be in a facility.
Yeah. Even if it's like an assisted living situation, just somebody that could keep an eye on him, or heck, even just a nurse that stopped by, a couple of times a week to make sure everything's okay and give him his meds. Just something like that. You know what I mean? That would even help to an extent. But just nothing. That's the scary thing for me. Just absolutely nothing. New name. And if somebody that isn't following the case doesn't know that you have a new name, because a lot of times they don't post the new names for people to know.
Yeah, because you change your name for a reason, and so you can go and try to live a life over again. And that's kind of happened in other cases where, oh man, I can't even remember this chick's name. There was a chick that like committed a bunch of murders with her husband. God, why can't I remember this? Maybe it's not I want to say the Ken and Barbie killers, but I think that's wrong. But she got off. He stayed in prison and she got off, and then she was able to change her name and like be able to run free. But then everybody found out what her name was. And so she started having to bounce around from place to
Round.
place because she kept getting caught up. Like, we know who you are. You can't fool us.
What? Ah.
Yeah, it's like, fuck. But
Um,
yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. It happens a lot. It's basically just so you can try to go live a life, but you can't after things like that. You really can't. And oh my God, it just sucks.
yeah,
So that's our story, guys.
it is.
Oh, by the way, I just showed Miss Dizzy before we got started. We got our stickers in for the Devil Made Me Do It stickers. So during the week, if you follow our Instagram at the Devil Made Me Do It podcast, Miss Dizzy over here, she also shares them on Facebook, which is great because it gets our Facebook viewers and followers in on the game as well. She posts 3 clues during the week to let you know what our Saturday morning topic is going to be. And if you can guess what it is before Saturday morning, we send you a sticker. So, a sticker. Like, good job, here's your gold star. Here's your gold star, doll. Yes, Aaron, we will send you a sticker. He's like, oh, a sticker. I'm going to actually put one on my fridge. I'm going to send you some too.
Yeah,
so that you have some.
one for the bass drum.
There you go. No, I'm definitely going to send you some too. So yeah, if you guys aren't following already and you'd like to, we are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're now on Twitch. And if you're just an audio listener, we're on BuzzSprout, Stitcher. I think that's how you call it, Stitcher. Iheart Radio. We're still waiting on Pandora. Pandora takes a little longer than most of the audio platforms do. We're on Apple iTunes. We're on a lot of stuff right now. So basically almost anywhere that you can listen to an audio podcast, we are there. There are a lot of the links in the description below if you're following on Facebook or YouTube, because I know it's kind of limited on what you could add in your description on some of the platforms. I use StreamYard, so it just kind of connects to all of them at once. So you kind of get what you get for what you know where. Yeah, anyway. And, oh yeah, thank you, Aaron. And we're on Spotify as well. Yeah, we're on a lot of stuff. So you guys make sure to check us out.
I've got a personal TikTok that I make the videos for the clues each week too. And I post them there. I post them Snap, Insta. Yeah, like I think everything but Twitter.
Yeah, I never really got into Twitter, but apparently it's like really popular. I don't know.
I have it, but I get on it just to read other people's stuff. I don't think I've ever even posted anything on it.
I had a Twitter like once, and it was like years ago, and I posted one time, and I was like, fuck this shit, I'm bored. I don't get this. I don't want to get this. I've got enough going on. Right. And then now with all this, I have like a bajillion platforms and different things that I constantly have to keep up with throughout the week. So I'm just like, I don't want any more.
No more, please.
No más, por favor. But yeah, make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe, share to anybody that you think would be interested in true crime, because a lot of people are into true crime. True crime's crazy. It's crazy. They're interesting stories.
Very interesting stories. I wish we were still giving clues about next week's case, because oh my goodness, we got a good one for y'all. So make sure you tune in. And these clues, they're a dead giveaway. That's all I'm gonna say. There's no way to not give it away. So
was it pun intended?
I want to see some guesses this week. I want to be able to send somebody a prize or something, you know.
Right.
So this week coming up, I think we said it might even be a 2-parter, possibly a 3-parter. So it's a big one.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I know you started on it already. I'm gonna have to start on it at least tomorrow, because I've got a bunch of stuff I gotta to do after this, especially for to upload on the podcast and to update our Patreon. Which if you guys are interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, there's the link in the description as well. I add a whole bunch of extra like case files, police reports, crime scene photos, links to other stuff that will give you more information on this case. Basically a lot of the work for you, so you don't have to do it.
You can just examine it.
Yeah, you can just go just jump on there and check it out. We have different tiers, and of course, so they all have different stuff that's going to go on there. We're going to do Some extra shows to put up there here in a little bit. Probably gonna wait around a little bit for some more Patrons. And yeah, that's about it. I think we're done.
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. So thank you guys so much for joining us again this weekend. We know it's kind of early in the morning for some, but that's cool because, you know, everybody wants to start their day with coffee and crime. Why not?
Right?
Right? As long as it's not happening to you, it's all good.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So thank you guys again for joining us, and we will see you guys next Saturday morning. So
Sounds good.
bye.
Bye.